Welcome to the Second Co-Defense Podcast, where we talk about all things self-defense. I'm your host, Sean Maloney, a defense attorney and co-founder of Second Co-Defense. Second Co-Defense was created to defend against both criminal and civil threats that may arise simply as a result of exercising your right to self-defense. I just got back from court at a pretrial today that was related to a traffic stop with a firearm. And folks, things didn't go well. And I thought it important that I go over a few simple things that can make everybody's life easier, especially your attorney, if for whatever reason you end up in court. No one likes to see the flashing blue lights in a rearview mirror. And whether it's a warning, it's a ticket, a minor traffic violation, or it's just plain bad luck. A traffic stop can make anyone's heart race. Certainly, a lot of people have never been pulled over before. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those persons. I travel a lot, and it seems like I tend to speed a little bit too fast from time to time. So I've been giving this same advice for years to my clients in the state of Ohio, even years before concealed carry was even legal in the state of Ohio. And how things go during the traffic stop can make a big difference down the road, especially for your attorney in court if that's where you end up. And I want to talk about preparation for the traffic stop. I mean, how do you prepare for a traffic stop? Simply, you think about it and you follow this playbook, and that'll give you an idea which may be unknown to your suburban people. Also, visibility is important. Visibility for the police officer, what he sees, what he can't see. And then most importantly, communication. You always have to communicate. And they're the big difference between a routine traffic stop resolves itself quickly and then one that doesn't go so well. Those few moments, staying visible, keeping your hands in plain sight, and calmly stating your intentions before you move and before you get into your glove compartment for your license and ID are important. Again, communication is so important. Additionally, the way we interact with and discuss matters and act during the traffic stop shows the police officer that you're the good guy or the good girl. And it's important just related to the impact that this can have on everything down the road. Now, you see the lights in the rearview mirror. Suddenly, it's you that want to pull over. The first thing you want to do when those lights come on is let the officer know that you're being pulled over. How do we do that? Turning signal. Put your right turning signal on. You can even put your four-way flashers on. You want to make sure that when you pull over as far off the side of the road as you safely, reasonably can do that. And you're doing that to make sure when the police officer gets out of the car, it's safe for him or her. And trust me, they'll notice that immediately. If you're on a narrow road or a bridge and you can't safely pull over, keep your turning signal on or your four-ways on and go down to the gas station or an empty parking lot if there is one, or if the road widens out, you want to pull over there. It'll have a big impact on the safety of the officer, and they appreciate it, and they realize that they know you're thinking about their safety. And trust me, it makes a big difference. Now, I also want you to think about what it looks like from the officer's point of view if you brake erratically, you slam on your brakes, you're swerving all over, you're trying to figure out what's going on. And that can be common because, again, that's not a common occurrence and people get nervous and the adrenaline's going. So you want to make sure you get that under control. Now, I talked about making yourself visible and predictable. Well, once you're parked, the little things that you can do can make a big difference. This is what I personally do and the advice that I've been giving out. You want to turn off your engine. You want to roll down your window. You want to flip your dome lights on if it's dark outside. And then, most importantly, you want to keep both hands on the steering wheel where the officer can see those when the officer approaches. And trust me, again, the police officer is going to notice, and most likely he's going to be aware by your actions that you're a concealed carry holder and a law-abiding citizen. And people always ask me, well, how do you know that? Well, this same advice that I'm giving today, I also had a hand in writing that for the Ohio Concealed Carry Handbook. And so at one time I was pulled over for speeding. I was actually going to a concealed carry class, and my window was down, the car was off, the dome lights were on, my hands were on the steering wheel, and the county sheriff walked up to my car and said, I bet you're going to tell me you're a concealed carry holder. And I said, how'd you know? He said, it's in the book. So trust me, they pay attention to those things, and they realize what's going on, and they recognize that all the time. Now, think about looking at a traffic stop from the other side of the bag. Think about getting pulled over and the police officer is sitting behind you with his lights on, looking at you through the rear of your window as he's running your registration or getting ready to get out of the car. Now, I tell all the drivers all the time, keep your license, your registration, and your insurance above the visor in one spot. That way, you have to reach above your visor. Can you imagine what it looks like when the police officer is behind you and sees you dipping down and sees your head disappearing and your shoulders disappearing? What are they thinking about that time? What are you grabbing? What are you doing? What are you hiding? What are you putting away? So you want to make sure that your hands are on the steering wheel, you're sitting upright, your window's down, your lights are on, and you're waiting for the officer to approach. Now, what happens when the officer approaches? I have my own way of doing it, and people have a lot of other ways of doing it. This is what I do. I react as soon as the officer gets to the window. Before he even has a chance to say anything, I calmly announce that, "Officer, I'm a concealed carry holder and have my firearm on my right hip. Do you have any instructions?" That amount of respect and what you say from the beginning, the officer immediately knows what he's dealing with, goes a long way and makes a big difference. Officer, he's going to say, "Can I see your license, registration, and proof of insurance?" And say, "Officer, if this is the case, my registration is in the glove compartment. May I reach for it?" And I want you to remember that that's followed by, there's some case law that can come into effect. I'm sure you've heard of them, Supreme Court decisions, notably Terry versus Ohio and Michigan versus Long. It recognized an officer's limited ability to get access to anywhere you're going to reach for his safety. So in all actuality, if you say, "I'm reaching in my glove compartment," he may search that. And I've never had that happen, but according to the case law and federal law, he has a right to do that. Now, you want to make sure you know your state's laws. If you carry a firearm, you have to understand the law and the place you are. And if you're traveling, that means you have to know each state's law that you're traveling through. Now, other states, like the home state of Ohio, only require me to inform that I have a firearm if I'm asked. In some states, you never have the legal duty to do that. In other states, you have to promptly inform, and promptly is up to the officer's discretion. So even if it's not mandatory, I immediately inform the officer that I'm carrying, and I'm calm about it, and I communicate to him. I've always found that as an attorney, both in the courtroom and in my car when I'm pulled over, that respect for the officer's safety, letting him know what's going on, sets a tone for the entire encounter. "Officer, I have a concealed carry permit and my firearm is on my right hip." Your calm communication will put the officer at ease and show again that you respect the officer's safety. I always announce the presence of a firearm, no matter what the law is. That way, I'm covered in all jurisdictions. It's the easy way for me to do it. And after years of successfully navigating traffic stops, I could tell you firsthand that it pays big dividends. Remember, never reach for the gun or gesture towards it. Let the officer give you directions. Now, all this I was talking about is just respectful communication. And I want you to remember that's going to go a long ways, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And I also want to tell a lot of you folks out there who think differently that politeness isn't weakness, it's a strategy. It's your strategy for a successful traffic stop where everybody gets to go home. A few calm, respectful words can make the entire encounter go better. "Yes, officer, no problem, I understand." I also want to point out that arguing on the side of the road at 2 a.m. is pointless. You won't win, and it can make matters worse. Some people get so nervous, they start arguing with the officer, trying to assert their rights way ahead of time. So if the officer makes a mistake or misreads the law, that's where your attorney is for later on if you end up going to court. Be courteous, collect the facts, and let due process work for you. Remember, arguing on the side of the road with the police officer isn't going to help, and most always it's going to hurt, even if you're sure the officer is wrong. And I've been there before because concealed carry laws change all the time. They probably change more than any law in any state ever, either for the good or the bad. So I always make it a practice to announce every movement. Every time you're inside your car, you narrate what you're going to do. "Officer, my driver's license is in my right pants pocket and my firearm is in a holster on my right side. Can I reach for my wallet?" All the time? Sure, go ahead. And trust me, the officer's probably got his hand on his firearm on his hip and he's above you. He's got the draw. So at this point in time, he's not worried about anything. Now, also, you want to move slowly. If you're nervous and you drop something, you drop your wallet, you drop your purse, or something ends up in the ground, don't suddenly bend down and grab it. Because again, what's that look like from the officer's perspective? You want to wait and explain, say, officer, I dropped my wallet. Is it all right if I lean down and get it? Now, it sounds kind of rudimentary, but these things make a big difference to an officer that could have had a rough night, or that understands that the traffic stop is some of the most dangerous things that they're going to do during their day. Now, for whatever reason, and it could be many or none at all, if you're ever detained or arrested, I want you to stay professional. Be prepared if the stop escalates into a detention or arrest. It's time to stop talking and protect your rights calmly. Officer, I wish to remain silent and speak with my attorney. Now, those words are kind of important. Sure, you can say I'm invoking my constitutional rights and I have nothing to say. But if you inform the officer that you're not going to speak without your attorney, that invokes a much stronger meaning under the law. So you always want to say, I have nothing to say until I speak to my attorney. Now, leaving the stop safely. When it's over, wait until the police officer returns to their car, gives you a clear signal that you can leave, use your turning signal, check your mirrors, and re-enter traffic safely. Departing too fast or too soon can undo all the calm professionalism that you just showed. The bottom line, a traffic stop doesn't have to be a confrontation. You can't control what kind of day the officer is having, but you can control how you respond. Remember, you don't know what the officer just had happen to him before your traffic stop. Maybe it was a violent domestic violence call. Maybe he just had a felony arrest. You never know. We're all human, and certainly that's going to impact the officer's mood when he or she is talking to you. You always want to show respect, stay calm, and be predictable. Keep your hands visible, your words polite, and your firearm holstered. Now, I also want to point out, I have some great humor watching these things. I'm sure we've all seen the YouTube videos of the person being pulled over, getting his camera out, officer, I'm recording this, announcing they're a sovereign citizen, or not announcing they know something about the law, questioning or objecting to every word out of the officer's mouth. I just please don't be that person. Especially if I'm your attorney, don't be that person. Remember, your goal is to make it home safely from a routine traffic stop. You know, this isn't just legal advice, it's common sense. Don't make matters worse for yourself. Be prepared to handle the traffic stop. Prepare mentally before driving armed. Know the law, like I stated, and anticipate what to say to the police when stopped. It's a great way to practice. It's a great way to kind of unseal and open the door what is really the unknown by going over these simple principles. When you're pulled over, you want to signal, park safely, leaving room for the officer's safety. You want to remain seated. Don't reach for documentation until requested, until you explain what you're going to do. Now, again, imagine those sudden movements like reaching for a glove compartment. They may appear threatening from the officer's perspective. Always ask before reaching. If required, promptly and calmly disclose you're a concealed carry permit holder, specifying its location respectfully. And remember, since I don't want to have to question myself and what state I'm in, I always promptly inform. I was pulled over one day in Texas. I was there for the AccuSport SHOT Show. I was going a little bit too fast, but in the desert of Texas, it was kind of easy to do. Officer came up to the car, and I had really no duty to inform. And I said, officer, I'm a concealed carry holder, and I have the firearm on my right hip. He said, that's nice. Where are you going in such a hurry? So remember, it's just respect that you're going to show. Cooperate, politely respond, politely interact, with all his lawful requests, including stepping out if you're asked. Now, inform the officer of other armed passengers as required by law. In some states, if your passenger is armed, everybody in that car has to let the officer know that they have a firearm. It just doesn't apply to you in those situations. Now, also, I had a case in Ohio before we changed the law where a number of different officers showed up as a minor fender bender. Well, my client informed the first two officers that were there and never said anything about having the firearm to the third officer. And at that point, you had to inform every officer you had a meaningful contact with that came up and spoke with you. Well, officer number 3 charged him without disclosing the fact that he was a concealed carry holder, and then he lost his concealed carry permit for 6 months. That's no longer the law in Ohio. It may be the law where you live. Make sure that you're aware of the law. Make sure your documentation, your registration, and your insurance is all current, and make sure that you know exactly where it is, and you inform the officer where you're reaching for it. Don't go rummaging through the glove compartment without saying anything. Don't quickly grab it and open up the door. And remember, effective communication Clear visibility and respect for procedure are crucial in these situations. Keeps the encounter safe for the officer, for you. It's professional, it's unremarkable, and if for whatever reason you end up in court and I'm at a pretrial like I was today, trying to cut a deal, trying to get a dismissal, and 9 times out of 10, in fact, I've never had a prosecutor not do this. If the police officer is present, he or she will walk to the police officer and say, hey, do you have any objection for me doing this? And if you were acting like a jerk and you made the traffic stop a lot harder than it needed to be, the officer's going to remember it. They have it in their notes, and you're probably not going to get the deal your attorney is working to get you. So remember, how you handle a traffic stop has wide impact after you leave the side of the road. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe to the Second Call Defense podcast to learn more about self-defense. Being a Second Call Defense member means you get immediate upfront defense legal protection with nothing out of pocket, nothing to repay ever. Learn more about Second Call Defense at secondcalldefense.org.